There's a quiet pain in believing you're broken. Not loud or dramatic, it's just a constant hum in the background. It's like a song stuck on the same note. You try to keep up, smile, function. But underneath, there's this ache that whispers, something is wrong with me, and I don't know how to fix it. You look around and wonder why others seem so put together. Why their lives unfold like stories with satisfying endings, while yours feels like a page stuck halfway through. You've read the self-help books, followed the routines, meditated, journaled, and still the emptiness lingers. So you wonder if maybe this is just how you are, flawed, incomplete. Maybe you were born missing something important. But here's a thought. What if you're not broken, just human? Not defective, just healing in ways the world doesn't know how to measure. We live in a culture obsessed with fixing, with optimizing, with always becoming better. But not everything broken needs to be repaired. Not everything painful needs to be solved. Some things just need to be held. Your sadness doesn't mean you're broken. Your anxiety isn't a flaw. Your quietness, your slowness, your softness, they're not problems. You don't need to be a project. You don't need to be under construction forever. You're allowed to simply exist. Healing is not a linear process. It's not a race. And it's not a checklist. Some days you'll feel okay. Some days you won't. That's not failure. That's rhythm. There is nothing shameful about needing time, or needing rest, or needing space to feel. The world tells us to move on quickly, to bounce back stronger. But real healing moves like the tide, gentle, unhurried, and deeply natural. You might not even notice it happening, until one day you realize the ache has softened, that you laughed without thinking. You looked at the sky and felt something like peace, that you didn't have to pretend for a few minutes, that you were simply herent. That was enough. You are not a machine that needs repairing. You are a living story. And some chapters take longer to write. You are still becoming, still unfolding, still sacred, even in your confusion. No one told you this, but healing isn't always pretty. Sometimes it looks like crying at the grocery store. Sometimes it looks like saying no for the first time. Sometimes it's just brushing your teeth when you didn't want to, or drinking a glass of water, or getting out of bed slowly. Willing is not always a grand gesture. It's 1,000 tiny choices to keep going, even when it hurts. You don't have to earn your right to heal. You don't need to prove you're worth saving. You already are. You were never meant to be perfect. Only present, only honest, only real. Maybe the goal isn't to be unbreakable, but to be open, to let light in through the cracks. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are learning how to be gentle with yourself. It's not weakness. That's courage. That's strength in its softest form. Stop looking for the cure. Start listening to what your pain is asking for. It's not asking for punishment. It's asking for patience, for compassion, for time. You're allowed to go slow, to take the longer road, to rest in the middle of the storm. The world might not understand your pace, but healing was never meant to impress anyone. It's meant to bring you home to yourself. So if today feels heavy, be gentle. If all you did was survive, that is enough. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not broken. You're healing, quietly, truly. And that is more than enough. Let that truth settle in your bones. We begin here. There's a quiet kind of healing that doesn't announce itself. And no milestones, no applause, just quiet shifts, day by day. The world moves quickly and we feel the pressure to keep up, to look like we're making progress. But not all progress can be seen. Not all healing is loud. Not all growth is visible from the outside. We've been taught to associate healing with action, with breakthroughs, transformation, and clarity. But sometimes healing is just sitting in silence without needing to fix anything. Sometimes it's choosing not to numb the pain. Sometimes it's letting yourself feel it fully for the first time. That is healing too. Slow healing is not failure. It's honesty. It's listening to your own rhythm instead of someone else's. You don't owe anyone a timeline. You don't need to prove your progress. Healing isn't a performance. You don't need to bounce back. You don't need to look okay. You don't need to move on before your heart is ready. The mind may understand long before the body feels safe again. That doesn't mean you're behind. It just means your healing is deeper than logic. You're not lazy for needing rest. You're not weak for needing time. You're just human with a nervous system that remembers. Your healing may look slow, but it's sacred. Like the roots growing underground before the flower ever blooms. No one sees the roots, but without them, nothing survives. This is the kind of healing that lasts. It's a kind that doesn't just patch up the pain, but transforms the soil beneath it, so you can grow something new. There is wisdom in your slowness, in your quiet, in your refusal to rush. Your pain has a story to tell. Stories don't unfold on demand. They need patience, presence, and space. The truth is, rushing healing often leads to suppression. Suppressed pain doesn't disappear. It waits. It whispers. It returns louder. But when you slow down, something opens. A softness, a curiosity, a willingness to feel rather than fix. That's when true healing begins. Not from pressure, but from permission. Permission to be where you are. You don't have to understand everything yet. You don't have to know how it will end. Healing isn't a destination, it's a relationship with yourself. A gentle, evolving dialogue where you learn to hold your own hand, even in the dark. Especially in the dark. Because that's where the deepest healing happens. In the quiet moments no one else sees. The world might call it unproductive. But rest is not a waste. Grieving is not a distraction. Sitting still doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're listening. What you hear might change everything. There's power in not rushing through your pain. There's courage in staying with what hurts. Not to suffer, but to understand. To make space for the truth beneath the noise. It's to ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? Not what should I do, but what feels kind. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a person to be loved, especially by yourself. So let yourself be slow. Let yourself be quiet. Let yourself be real. The world will keep rushing, but you don't have to match its pace. You can choose stillness instead. You can choose healing over hiding, presence over performance, depth over speed. What matters isn't how fast you heal. What matters is how gently you treat yourself in the process. That's the mark of real progress. Not how many steps you take, but how lovingly you walk them. Even if you stumble, even if you pause, there's no need to hurry. You're not missing your life. This is part of it, the quiet chapters too. So rest if you need, cry if you must. But know this, healing is happening even now, even in the pause, even in the slow unraveling. Even here you are healing. Healing doesn't always look the way we expect. It's not always soft music and warm tea and journal pages. Sometimes it's messy and confusing, and nothing makes sense. You might have days where you feel like you've gone backward.
Ow.
Where old feelings rise again. Where you wonder if you've made any progress at all. That doesn't mean you're failing. That means you're human. Healing is not a straight line. It loops. It dips. It circles back around. There are moments of clarity, and moments where everything goes quiet again. It's normal. That's part of it. You don't need to be graceful all the time. You don't need to do it right. You just need to stay honest with yourself. Some days healing looks like speaking kindly to yourself. Other days it looks like crying on the floor and not knowing why. Both are valid. Both are real. You can be making progress and still feel pain. You can be growing and still feel stuck. You can be healing and still feel broken sometimes. But this doesn't mean you aren't moving forward. It just means your healing includes your whole self. It's not just the pretty parts. It's the fear, the doubt, the anger, the exhaustion. They all have something to teach you. Healing isn't about eliminating pain. It's about learning how to hold it differently, gently, compassionately, without shame. It's okay if you're still triggered sometimes. It's okay if you still overthink. It's okay if you still struggle. It doesn't mean you're not healing. It means healing is working its way deeper, into the places where you were once told to hide your hurt. Real healing allows you to feel everything, not just joy, but also grief, regret, longing, and love. Because you are not a project, you are a person, and people are complex. You're not supposed to be one emotion all the time, or one version of yourself forever. You're allowed to be layered. You're allowed to laugh and cry in the same hour. To feel proud and scared all at once, that doesn't make you unstable. That makes you alive. It makes you real. That makes your healing honest. There is no perfect version of you waiting at the end of this process. It's just a softer version, a truer version. One who knows how to sit with herself, who no longer runs from her own shadow, who knows that wholeness isn't the absence of pain, it's the presence of self. The truth is, you might never be completely free from old wounds, but you'll learn how to live alongside them. With tenderness, with grace, the scars will not disappear, but they will stop stinging. They will become part of your story, not the whole of it. You don't have to wait until you're fully healed to live, to love, to try. To dream, you don't need to be finished to be worthy. The healing doesn't have to be complete for the light to come in. It finds you in the middle of the mess, holds you even when you're unraveling. You are still lovable here. You are still whole even in fragments. You are still allowed to be proud of how far you've come. Don't measure your healing by how together you appear. Measure it by how safe you feel with your own truth, by how gently you speak to yourself now. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you've always been, beneath the armor. Beneath the expectations and performance, you were never too much, never too slow, never too sensitive. You were just told to hide your softness. But softness is strength, and it's what will carry you through this. You don't have to be impressive to be enough. You don't have to be extraordinary to be worthy. You don't have to be perfect to be healing. You are allowed to take up space even when you're unsure, even when you're still in the middle of becoming, especially then. You are not broken. You're unfolding gently, imperfectly, truthfully, so let yourself bloom in pieces. Let yourself arrive one breath at a time. Let the imperfect be enough. This is healing too. Might not be tidy, but it is real. It is yours. It's hard to heal when you're always comparing yourself to strangers on the internet, to people who smile through their struggles. You see their lives and wonder why. Can't I be like that? Why is it taking me so long? Why do I still feel like this? But healing isn't a competition. It's not a race you can win or lose. It's a deeply personal, inward journey. You might walk a slower path than others. You might take detours. You might stop to rest more often. That doesn't make you less than. That makes you honest with yourself, and that's where real healing lives. Other people's stories are not your mirror. Their pace is not your blueprint. Your journey is your own. You don't have to look like you're thriving to be healing. You don't have to post about it. You don't have to explain it. You're allowed to heal quietly, in private, without evidence, without proof. Sometimes healing looks invisible, like walking away from a toxic situation. It's like choosing silence over reaction, like not texting back, like saying no, like feeling sad without needing to justify it. There's no award for doing it the fastest, no medal for pretending you're okay. You can let go of the pressure to impress. Your healing doesn't have to make sense to others. It only has to feel true to you. That's the only compass you need. But it's easy to forget that when everyone around you seems fine. People ask, aren't you over that by now? As if grief comes with an expiration date, as if pain follows a calendar, as if your softness is an inconvenience. But you are not an inconvenience. You're not behind just because someone else moved on. You're not weak because you still feel. You're just healing at the speed of your truth. That's the only pace you ever need to honor. There's strength in staying with your experience, not abandoning yourself for the sake of appearances. Healing asks for courage. It's a kind of courage that doesn't always look brave. Sometimes it looks like crying in the shower, or showing up even when your voice shakes, or telling the truth when it's easier to lie, or taking a break when everyone else is pushing forward. There is no single way to heal, no formula, no timeline, only presence, only self-trust. Trust that your body knows what it's doing. Trust that your soul is not behind. Trust that even when it doesn't feel like it two are moving, every tear is movement, every breath is forward. Every act of kindness to yourself is a kind of progress. Healing doesn't need to be big or dramatic. It just needs to be yours. The world may try to rush you. It may tell you to get over it. But don't listen to voices that don't know your pain. Don't measure your journey by someone else's map. Don't shrink yourself to fit their expectations. You don't owe anyone a performance. What you owe yourself is gentleness, space, permission to heal in your own way. Even if it looks strange from the outside, even if no one understands, even if it takes years. Your life is not a timeline of milestones. It's a series of moments where you chose to stay soft, where you chose to begin again, That's what matters. Not how fast you got there, but how true you were to yourself along the way. How kindly you held your pain. How patiently you waited in the silence. How bravely you chose not to rush. How you allowed yourself to become slowly, fully, freely. So let go of comparison. Let go of timelines. Let go of needing it to look like anyone else's journey. Your healing will not be the same as theirs. And that's a good thing. It's what makes it yours. Unique. Irreplaceable. A quiet revolution, unfolding in your own time. Becoming that cannot be measured by speed. You are not falling behind. You are not broken. You are simply healing in your own way. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to be something else. Before the pressure. Before the fear. Before the shame. It's about coming home. Not to a place, but to yourself. To the quiet truth that's been waiting all along. Healing doesn't demand that you fix everything. It invites you to be with what is. To hold your pain, your joy, your confusion with tenderness. We spend so much time trying to change ourselves. It's trying to correct what feels wrong inside. But what if you're not wrong at all? What if the sadness isn't a flaw? What if the fear isn't failure? What if the parts you hide are just parts that need love? You were never meant to be polished. We're meant to be whole. And wholeness includes the soft, the broken, the healing. Healing doesn't erase the past. It changes your relationship to it, so it no longer controls you. You can look back with gentleness. You can forgive what you didn't know. You can offer compassion to the younger you, who was simply trying to survive. That younger version of you. She didn't need fixing. She needed safety. He didn't need criticism. He needed care. Healing is giving yourself what you once needed but didn't receive. Safety, kindness, time, the right to feel. You don't have to go back and undo everything. You don't have to relive every wound. You just have to stop running from yourself. Sit with what's here, not to analyze, not to fix, just to witness. That's what most of us have been missing. Someone to simply stay. You can be that person for yourself now. You can hold space for your confusion, for your grief, for your softness. You are allowed to exist exactly as you are, not in spite of your pain, but alongside it because of it. The you that's still afraid, still worthy, the you that cries unexpectedly, still lovable, the you that isn't better yet, still enough. Healing isn't about controlling your emotions. It's about allowing them without shame, letting them speak, letting them move. Your emotions aren't enemies. They're messengers. They're asking to be heard. You don't have to pretend you're okay. You don't have to smile through your pain. You can be real. You can tell the truth, even if your voice shakes, especially if it shakes. Because honesty is where the healing begins, not the curated version of your life, the quiet, raw, sacred truth underneath. Healing is returning to that truth and realizing it was never something to be ashamed of, that you were never too much, that you didn't have to become someone else to be loved, that your softness wasn't a mistake, it was a gift. You are not broken. You've simply been carrying too much, trying to survive in a world that rushes what needs rest, that judges what needs gentleness. But you don't have to carry it all anymore. You can put some of it down, you can breathe again. Even if you don't have all the answers, even if the wound is still tender, even if nothing looks different on the outside, the healing is happening. In the quiet, in the space you make for yourself, this isn't about perfection. This is about permission. Permission to be human, to feel, to fall apart and rebuild, to not have it all figured out. You are allowed to change slowly, to outgrow old patterns with care, to return to yourself one moment at a time. You don't have to become someone new to be worthy. You're already enough before the world told you otherwise. And you still are. So come home to yourself, gently, without judgment, with both arms open. You don't need to fix everything to begin again. You just need to be willing to come back to your heart. That's where healing begins, and where you belong. Sometimes the most radical act of healing is to simply stay. Not run, not fix, not perform, just be. Stay with the ache. Stay with yourself. No timeline, no deadline, no miracle expected. Just a quiet, sacred willingness to remain. This is where true healing begins. Not in the chase for betterment, but in the surrender to presence. Not in answers, but in deep listening. Listening to the weary parts of you that never had a voice. The parts that don't need to be rushed, only witnessed. You are not a task to be completed. You're not a broken machine waiting for repair. You are a living story, still unfolding. Some chapters are softer. Some are full of grief. Others carry joy, and many hold silence. All of them matter. All of them belong. The illusion of being behind is only real if you believe life is a race. But life is not a race. It is a garden. Some seeds bloom in spring, others wait through many winters. But none are wrong, and none are late. Imagine if your worth wasn't tied to your speed. Imagine if rest was respected, not resented. Imagine if we stopped glorifying those who healed fast and started honoring those who kept going, inch by inch. The ones who relapsed and returned. The ones who paused and began again. The ones who doubted themselves but chose softness anyway. The truth is, healing is not linear. It zigzags. It stumbles. It forgets and remembers. Some days you'll feel weightless. Others will feel like swimming through grief. That doesn't mean you're broken. That means you're human. When the world says, get over it, let your heart say, I'm still learning how to hold it. You don't have to let go before you're ready. You don't have to forgive before you feel safe. You don't have to move on in anyone else's time frame. You can heal without rushing. You can grow while grieving. You can love your messy process. Healing is rarely visible from the outside, but it lives in the quiet choices you make every day. Choosing to breathe when panic visits, choosing to stay when your mind wants to flee, choosing to rest when the guilt creeps in. That is courage. That is healing. You're not meant to reach a perfect version of you. You're meant to return to your true self. Not the self others shaped, but the self that was always worthy. Even in pain, even in confusion, even in stillness, you are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to be unsure. You are allowed to be slow. That is not failure. That is freedom. The world may reward fast fixes, but your soul longs for something deeper. It longs for gentleness. It longs for integration, not improvement. What if healing isn't about rising above? What if it's about sinking into yourself with more honesty? To carry your past with compassion instead of shame. To meet your present with grace, not judgment. And to look toward your future with curiosity, not pressure. You don't need to be healed to be whole. You are already whole, even in fragments, even in process, even when the pain still lingers. You are not broken, you are becoming softer, becoming wiser, becoming more deeply you. Let that be enough. Let your pace be sacred. Let your story be yours. You owe no one an explanation. You owe no one a timeline. You owe yourself only kindness. Keep walking. Keep breathing. Keep trusting that your healing is not late. You are not missing your moment. Your moment is here in this breath, in this small choice to keep going, in this gentle whisper that says, I'm not broken. I'm healing. And that is enough. You are enough. Always have been. This is quiet philosophy, where thinking isn't loud, and life doesn't need to be either. Subscribe if you haven't already, not for noise, but for something you can actually feel.